Welcome to Grading 101, Introduction to Grading, brought to you by PCGS. Today we're going to take a look at grading circulated coins. Interesting topic. Grading circulated coins, as a rule, is easier than grading mint state coins, as it's done almost exclusively by the amount of wear the coin is seen. Now obviously we all know coins have certain details on them, and as a coin wears, the details disappear. And in grading circulated coins, you very often just look to see if the detail in question is there. If it's there, the coin has a good chance of qualifying for the grade. And if not, it probably can't make the grade. Now, eye appeal will play a small part, and most often will serve to bump a coin slightly, say, within a grade. For example, VF 20 to 25 or XF 40 to 45. But eye appeal unto itself is seldom sufficient to move a coin an entire grade, say from very good to fine or from very fine to extremely fine. The wear is just too important to ignore. Now, as you can see on the diagram here, wear, shown in blue, is overwhelmingly the largest factor in making up circulated coin grading, and it comprises roughly 85% or so of a coin circulated grade. So now let's take a quick overview of the wear through the basic circulated grades using barber coins as an example. Now we'll start with pour 1. Now take a quick look at this graph. On the x-axis here, you see the grades going from 1 up to 60. And on the y-axis, you have a scale showing the percent of the design of the coin that remains visible, starting at 0%, which would be totally worn flat, up to 100%, showing all the original detail struck on the coin. Now, a pour 1 coin must be identifiable as to denomination and type, and if a visible date and mint mark is needed to determine the year of striking, it must also be discernible. Other than that, you don't need much, other than the lack of severe damage, such as a hole or being chopped in half, for a pour 1 coin. Let's take a look at one here. Here's a pour 1 coin. As you can see, there's no lettering visible almost anywhere on the coin, almost nothing on the obverse, certainly nothing on the reverse. You are able to tell the date, though. You see the 896 here, that's 1896. So we could at least grade this coin pour 1. Let's move on to fair 2. A fair 2 coin is going to be showing about 5 to 10% of the details. You see down here by 2. You're in this range here, which looks to be here about 5 to 10%. It's going to still be very heavily worn, and you're going to see an outline or portion of the design certainly, but you're not going to see much in the way of peripheral lettering. It's going to be worn away. So let's take a look. Here's our fair 2 coin. No lettering on the back at all. You can see a pretty clear date here. You see some stars here, and sort of faintly bits of "In God We Trust" are still visible here. But a fair 2 coin is still pretty heavily worn, and it's unless it's a great rarity, it's going to be sort of below the threshold that any collector would really want one in their collection. We'll move to about good. We use the number 3 for about good. These coins are going to show about 10 to 15% of their original detail down here. It's going to be characterized by heavy wear into the tops of the lettering at the rims. On pre-1836 coins, you're going to have striking weakness also could be contributing to that. But let's take a look at an about good 3 coin and see what we see. You see the rim here is heavily worn into the letters. You see the top half of the letters on average here. You can read most of it, especially if you knew what was there once. On the front, you see the rim worn into the stars, but a good clear date, and you can read "In God We Trust" here. You've got an outline of the head and the eagle, and you start to pick up a tiny bit of detail within the head here. The ear is still visible here, and the eye is still visible. Now moving on to good, we use 2 numbers for good, 4 and 6. These coins show 15 to 25% of their original detail. And you grade a good coin largely by the rim. A good 4 coin can show somewhere into the tops of the letters, whereby on a good 6 we sort of like to see full rims, even though there may be a few weak spots. So let's take a look at a good 4 coin in this case. Here's our barber half. You see the wear is just into the tops of the lettering on the reverse. You see most of the rim. You see most full rim here on the obverse with "In God We Trust," very visible, certainly a strong date. And picking up the outline of a few leaves, you got your eyes still, lower part of the ear. But otherwise, the coin still remains pretty flat. Remember, these coins are showing an average of at least 80% or more being worn away. Now, by very good, we're going to still use two numbers. We use very good 8 and very good 10. Now, these coins, as you see on the graph in this section, are going to be shown anywhere with 25 to 40% of their detail remaining. Now, a VG coin will have complete rims on both sides, and on Indian cents, V-nickels, seated and barber coinage, you should begin to pick up a few letters of liberty. So let's take a look. Here is a VG coin. This is full rims here. You can see there's no wear into the lettering whatsoever. Same thing on the obverse, nice full rims, full stars. And if you see on Liberty, you're picking up a lot of your leaf detail on the wreath is beginning to show. And if you look carefully, you'll pick up the L and the I, a bit of the T and the Y. So you've got maybe 3.5 letters of Liberty showing. And that is pretty much a classic, very good coin, assuming there's no other problems with it. Now moving on to fine 12, again two numbers, 12 and 15, and these coins roughly show about half their detail, from a low of 40% up to a high of 60%, as you can see here on the graph. And you're going to start to pick up some internal detail of the coin, and for these mid and late 19th century, we like to see a full Liberty visible for fine, although some letters may be weak, especially at fine 12. So let's have a quick look at a fine barber half. Here you go. Again, you're seeing some internal detail. You're getting to see a nice full eye. You're getting to see detail of the mouth. And if you look carefully here, you see L-I-B-E-R-T-Y. Although the bottom of the B-E-R is a little weak, but those letters are there and visible. On the back, you're picking up, again, internal detail with the feathers on the eagle, some nice detail on the shield. And once again, this coin is one that you look at and sort of say, yeah, it's about half there. Half of it's worn away, but half of it's at least there. Maybe a little more. Now for very fine's a pretty broad grade for a circulated coin. We use 4 numbers. We use 20, 25, 30, and 35. And these are coins showing anywhere from 60 to 85% of their original detail. You're going to start seeing the finer points of the original design. And all major details of the coin should now be visible. And one thing I like to tell people is by VF, you're starting to now think about what's missing from the design rather than what is visible. And if we take a look, I'll explain here. Now by VF, there's very little here now that is really totally gone. I mean, you've got a good sharp Liberty, you've got most of the wreath visible, a little bit of the hair down here. Nice eagle, E pluribus unum showing, some feathers here are showing. Again, the rims by this point are very sharp, all lettering is very sharp. And now you're starting to concentrate here on the wear on the wingtips here, wear on the head of the eagle, wear on the tail feathers here. On the obverse, there's some wear on the hair above the eye of Liberty and a little bit on the wreath here. So you're now looking at the parts of the coin that are gone, whereas in the lower grades, you're sort of looking at what's still visible. So VF sorts to break into the higher circulated grades. Now our next circulated grade is extremely fine, and for this we use 2 numbers, 40 and 45. These are coins with 85 to 90% of their original detail. You see in this section of the graph here, leads us way up here into the 85 to 95% of the detail left. So you'll see wear on the high points of the design, but all the internal detail should be clear. And occasionally you might start to pick up a little bit of luster, especially on a 45 coin in a protected area. So let's take a look at a 40 or 45 half dollar here. Here you have it. Now where's the wear here? You're going to see wear on the tips of the wings. Here you've got wear on the head, a little wear on the lower feathers here. This feather here is showing wear, a little bit on the feathers of the arrows, and again here a tiny bit of flatness here all throughout the coin, just some light rub, But as you can see, you're looking at a coin that's lacking very, very little in terms of its original detail. XF is a pretty sharp grade on a coin. And again, it's a very popular and desirable circulated grade. Finally, we'll look at about uncirculated. These, we use 4 numbers for about uncirculated: 50, 53, 55, and 58. These coins show an excess of 95% of their original detail. It's just this upper part of the graph here. Takes up a lot of space down here since we use 4 numbers, but really is just concerned with the very, very top part of this part of the graph. A trace of wear is visible on the high points, but over 95% again of the detail will be visible, and you should have quite a bit of luster on an AU coin. So let's take a look. Here's our AU. Again, you can see lots of luster remaining on the coin. Very, very sharp Liberty. All the hair detail is visible. All the feather detail is visible. Just a few very light flat spots where there's been a trace of wear. You see here, this maybe the tips of this feather here, a little bit on the claws, a tiny bit of flatness on the head, maybe a trace of rub in the hair here, a few scratches and stuff. But this is a coin that's seen very little circulation, and it represents the top end of our circulated grades. So we thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for the next installment of Grading 101.